Will Marvin Thomas make it out alive, or is his time running out? In Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, every choice comes with a price. Marvin's journey has been a roller coaster of anger, mistakes, growth, and redemption. But the streets never forget, and enemies never forgive. The real question is, has Marvin truly escaped his past, or is he walking straight into his final chapter? Marvin Thomas has always been one of the most complex characters in Raising Kanan. He's not just the muscle of the Thomas family. He's the beating heart that keeps things moving even when everything around him is falling apart. From the very first season, Marvin stood out as unpredictable, sometimes reckless, sometimes hilarious, but always someone you couldn't take your eyes off. He has been violent, short-tempered, and impulsive, but at the same time, he's shown glimpses of deep loyalty, love, and a desperate desire to do better. This balance between his darker flaws and his softer side is what makes Marvin's fate such a big question heading into Season 5. Fans can't help but wonder, will the writers let him find peace and redemption, or is he being set up for a shocking, heartbreaking exit? Think about Marvin's arc so far. In the beginning, he was the one who always messed up. He was quick to fight, quick to shoot, and even quicker to lose control of his emotions. His relationship with his daughter, Jukebox, was broken almost beyond repair. There was resentment, anger, and years of distance between them. For a long time, it felt like Marvin was trapped in a cycle of mistakes, one bad decision after another. But slowly, across the seasons, we've seen a new side of him. The turning point came when he was forced to face his own anger. Those anger management sessions weren't just funny scenes, they were powerful moments that forced Marvin to look in the mirror and admit that he needed to change. For the first time, he wasn't just the tough guy running the streets. He was a man trying to evolve, trying to grow past the shadow of who he used to be, and that's why fans are so invested in his story. We've seen him patch things up with Jukebox little by little, step by step. We've seen him control his temper, even in situations where the old Marvin would have exploded. He's become calmer, smarter, and more cautious. But in a show like Raising Kanan, that kind of growth can sometimes be the very thing that sets up a character's downfall. Because when you finally start to change, that's when the writers hit hardest. Season 5 feels like it's circling a major crossroad for Marvin. He's trying to balance his role in the Thomas family business with his new sense of self-control. He wants to be there for Jukebox, but he's still knee-deep in a world where loyalty and violence go hand in hand. That tension between the man Marvin is becoming and the world he can't seem to escape is exactly what makes the question of his survival so intense. And here's the hook for the rest of the story. If Marvin dies, it won't just be the loss of another character. It will be the collapse of one of the most emotional storylines in the series. Jukebox's growth, Rack's power plays, and even Kanan's future could all shift because of Marvin's fate. His life or his death will ripple across every single storyline in Season 5. So as we move deeper into the theories, one thing is certain: Marvin's story is not just about survival. It's about whether redemption is even possible in the ruthless world of Raising Kanan. And that's why fans can't stop asking, will Marvin live? Or will he die? Marvin Thomas didn't start out as a man searching for redemption. He started as the kind of guy who lived by the streets, acted before thinking, and often caused more problems than he solved. In the early seasons of Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Marvin was known for his explosive temper and reckless decisions. He was the muscle, the one who would pull a trigger without hesitation, sometimes without fully understanding the consequences. For many fans, he felt like the most unpredictable character in the Thomas family, and that unpredictability made him dangerous, but also unforgettable. But here's the thing about Marvin. He's not just muscle. From the very beginning, underneath all the violence and impulsive behavior, there were glimpses of something deeper. He wasn't evil. He wasn't cold-hearted. He was broken. And broken men can sometimes be the most interesting to watch. One of the biggest parts of Marvin's journey has been his relationship with his daughter, Jukebox. Their bond was shattered long before the show began, full of tension, hurt, and distance. Marvin didn't know how to show love, and when he tried, it often came out twisted, wrapped up in anger and control. For a long time, Jukebox wanted nothing to do with him, and viewers couldn't blame her. Marvin was hard to root for in those moments. He was stuck in his own cycle of pain, and he didn't know how to break free, but that's where the writing of Raising Kanan shines. Because slowly across the seasons, we've watched Marvin peel back the layers of who he is. The turning point came when he was forced into anger management. At first, those sessions were treated as comic relief, Marvin cracking jokes, trying to play it cool, but as time went on, something shifted. He began to actually listen. He started to realize that his anger wasn't strength, it was weakness. And for the first time, Marvin faced the truth that he needed to change. Not just for himself, but for his daughter. This evolution gave fans a brand new way to see him. Suddenly, Marvin wasn't just the violent uncle in the background. He became a man trying to rebuild. He tried to show Jukebox that he could be more than his past mistakes. Their scenes together became some of the most emotional in the series. You could see the hurt in her eyes, the regret in his, and the tiny, fragile steps toward forgiveness. And while their relationship is far from perfect, it's that imperfection that makes it so powerful. Because in a world full of lies, betrayal, and bloodshed, Marvin's attempt at becoming a better father feels real. It feels human. Of course, his journey isn't just about family, it's also about survival. Marvin has had to adapt as the Thomas family business became more complicated and dangerous. He's had to learn patience, strategy, and caution skills he didn't have when the show began. The old Marvin would have let his temper lead him into disaster. The new Marvin thinks twice and sometimes even walks away. That growth is huge. In a world where one wrong move can get you killed, but growth doesn't erase enemies. Every choice Marvin made in the past still lingers like a shadow. People remember the damage he caused, the mistakes he made, the violence he unleashed. And in the streets, forgiveness isn't guaranteed. Even as Marvin works to change, he's still tied to a lifestyle that doesn't easily allow redemption. That's why fans are so torn about his fate. On one hand, Marvin has come so far that it feels like killing him off would be a tragedy. He deserves to see his story play out, to fully repair things with Jukebox, to finally prove that he can be more than his worst mistakes. On the other hand, that very growth makes him vulnerable. In shows like Raising Kanan, redemption often comes at a cost. Sometimes, the price of finally becoming a better man is losing your life before you get to fully enjoy it. Marvin's journey so far has been about transformation. From the reckless uncle to the flawed father, from the violent hothead to the man who pauses to think, Marvin has been on a path that fans can't look away from. And that path leads us directly into Season 5. Where the stakes have never been higher. His survival isn't just about him anymore, it's about what his life, or his death, will mean for everyone around him. Marvin Thomas stands at the edge of two possible destinies. On one side, there's redemption, a chance to keep growing, to rebuild his broken family ties, and to finally step into the role of a true father and mentor. On the other side lies tragedy, the kind of brutal ending that the streets often demand when you've spilled too much blood, broken too many promises, and lived too long in a world where every favor, every mistake, and every sin has a price. As we head into Power Book 3, Raising Kanan Season 5, the question of whether Marvin lives or dies has become one of the biggest debates among fans. Let's break down both sides. Reasons Marvin might die. One of the strongest arguments for Marvin's death is tied to his redemption arc. In storytelling, when a flawed character finally begins to change, it often signals that the end is near. Marvin has been trying to better himself, attending anger management, patching things up with Jukebox, even showing signs of patience and maturity in situations that once would have set him off. For many shows like Power, redemption is rarely rewarded. Instead, it's used to make a character's death hit even harder. Imagine Marvin finally winning Jukebox's forgiveness, only for his life to be cut short. It would devastate her, and it would reshape her entire journey moving forward. Another reason Marvin might die is the long list of enemies he has built over the years. From rival crews to people within his own circle, Marvin has made decisions that left scars. While he has grown, those enemies don't see the new Marvin, they only remember the old one. In the streets, grudges don't expire. His survival so far it could just be a setup for an eventual moment where one of those past sins catches up to him. And then there's the bigger picture. The Power Universe is known for shocking deaths that shift the story in new directions. Killing Marvin in Season 5 would send shockwaves through the Thomas family. Rack, Lulu, Kanan, and especially Jukebox would all be forced to deal with the fallout. It could serve as a catalyst that changes their choices, their loyalties, and their futures. Marvin's death wouldn't just be about him, it would be about everyone left behind. Reasons? Marvin might survive, but there's another side to the debate, the case for Marvin surviving. While his redemption arc could set him up for tragedy, it could also mean the writers aren't done with him yet. Marvin's growth feels incomplete. He's only just starting to truly step into a new version of himself. To kill him now might rob fans of the full payoff of his evolution. The writers may want to explore how Marvin balances his new sense of self with the dangerous world he's still tied to. Jukebox is also a major reason Marvin might live. Their relationship is still fragile, still healing. If Marvin dies before they fully reconcile, it leaves her story incomplete. Jukebox's path is crucial not only in raising Kanan but also in the larger Power Universe. Marvin's presence as her anchor or his absence as her tragedy will shape who she becomes. But if the writers want to show Jukebox learning from Marvin's attempts at growth, then keeping him alive makes more sense. There's also the family dynamic to consider. Without Marvin, the Thomas family loses its balance. Rack is the strategist, Lulu is the conflicted dreamer, and Marvin is the steady, evolving enforcer who brings both heart and muscle. Removing him could destabilize the family too early, leaving storylines that might feel unfinished. His survival could allow the writers to explore even deeper conflicts within the Thomas clan before pulling the trigger literally or metaphorically on his character. Finally, from a narrative perspective, Marvin represents hope. In a series full of betrayal, death, and corruption, Marvin's attempts to change give viewers a rare spark of light. Killing him might feel powerful in the moment, but keeping him alive allows the show to explore whether someone like Marvin can truly break free from the cycle of violence. His survival could be the show's way of saying redemption is possible, even in the darkest worlds. The balancing act, so where does this leave us? Marvin's fate hangs in the balance between tragedy and survival. On one side, his redemption arc makes him a perfect candidate for a shocking, emotional death. On the other, his growth, his bond with Jukebox, and his role in the Thomas family suggest his story isn't finished. Both outcomes would have massive ripple effects on Season 5 and beyond. That's what makes Marvin such a fascinating character to theorize about. He's not just a side player anymore. He's the emotional center of a story that thrives on chaos, betrayal, and family. Whether he lives or dies, Marvin's journey will leave a mark on everyone around him and on every fan watching. So here we are, standing at the crossroads of Marvin Thomas's story. The man who once embodied pure chaos has slowly transformed into someone fans are rooting for. He's still flawed, still scarred by his past, but he's shown us that change is possible, even in the darkest corners of raising Kanan. But the streets don't care about redemption. The streets only care about survival. And that's why Marvin's future is so uncertain. If Marvin lives, it won't be easy. Survival in this world never comes without a cost. He'll have to keep balancing his desire to change with the brutal reality of the game. Every move he makes will test his patience, his loyalty, and his commitment to being better than the man he used to be. Living doesn't mean winning, it means fighting every day to prove that his redemption isn't just temporary. It means facing temptation, betrayal, and violence while trying to stay on a path he never walked before. In many ways, surviving might actually be harder than dying, but if Marvin dies, his death won't be quiet. It will shake the very foundation of the Thomas family. Rack would lose her most reliable soldier, the one who stood by her side even when things got messy. Lulu would be left adrift, forced to deal with his own struggles without Marvin's steady, if flawed, presence and Jukebox. For her, Marvin's death would be earth-shattering. She has only just begun to let him back into her life, only just started to believe he could change. Losing him now would cut her deeper than any betrayal. And maybe, just maybe, it's that kind of pain that pushes her further down the road to becoming the cold, hardened version of herself we know from the larger power universe. That's why Marvin's fate matters so much. His story isn't just about whether he breathes or bleeds. It's about what his existence means to the people around him. His life is hope, his death is heartbreak, and both outcomes carry weight far beyond his own journey. But let's not forget one more thing: this is power. The writers thrive on giving us the unexpected. Just when we think we know where the story is heading, they twist it, flip it, and turn it upside down. That's what keeps fans glued to the screen. So even though we can build theories, predict outcomes, and argue over which direction Marvin's story should go, the truth is, none of us really know. And maybe that's the point. The tension of not knowing, that's what makes this series so addictive, So now, the question shifts from the screen to you, the audience. What do you think? Will Marvin's redemption finally be rewarded, or is he doomed to become another name etched in tragedy? Will his growth save him, or will it be the very reason he falls? Drop your theories in the comments below. Because the debate doesn't end here, it starts with you, and don't forget, Marvin's fate is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Season 5 promises to test every character, every alliance, and every fragile bond in ways we haven't seen before. In fact, if you're ready for the next big breakdown, stay tuned, because we'll be exploring Lulu's uncertain place in the family and whether he still has a future in this world. Trust me, you won't want to miss that. Until then, remember this: in raising Kanan, nobody is safe and nothing is guaranteed. Marvin's story could end tomorrow, or it could carry on for years. But whatever happens, one thing is certain: his journey has already left a mark on us all. So, will Marvin live or will he die? The answer is waiting for us in Season 5, and when it comes, it won't just change Marvin's life, it'll change the entire game.